It's time for this week's episode of Brandon Sports Talk, featuring in-depth interviews from those who are trending in the world of athletics. And now, here's the host of Brandon Sports Talk, Brandon Pate.
Welcome back to Brandon Sports Talk. In today's episode, I have the privilege to interview Marques Ogden, who is a former NFL player. How are you doing today?
Doing well, Brandon. How are you doing today, sir?
I'm doing good. Can you talk about how you knew that you wanted to play professional football?
Yeah, my brother Jonathan Ogden was drafted in 1996. So watching him play and being around the game, I knew at that time I wanted to be a professional athlete if that was going to be in my cards.
What was it like playing for Harwell?
Playing for Howard was really exciting, Brandon. It was a lot of fun. My father was a Howard graduate, so playing there, and I only lived about maybe 15 minutes from there growing up. So to play close to home and be around my family was a lot of fun.
What was that feeling like of playing close to home and putting on, of course, your home jersey?
Oh, it was amazing. You know, with my dad being a Howard grad and me being in that whole bloodline of father to son, playing the football legacy and continuing that legacy, it was a huge honor for me.
What was that like, continuing the legacy and putting on the jersey?
Oh, it was amazing. Like, you know, when you're able to continue something that your father, who you respect and love very much, started, it makes it a very exciting time for you in playing that sport.
What were some of your accomplishments during your college career?
I was a 4-year starter at Howard University. I was a 3-time All-Conference, 2-time All-American, and I am still today the only offensive lineman, Brandon, ever drafted from Howard University into the National Football League.
How does that feel to keep the record of being the only offensive lineman drafted into the National Football League?
I think it's amazing. I think it's very, it's humbling, but I would like to hope at some point, Brandon, we have another offensive lineman get drafted from Howard University. I think there's a lot of great players that go there. And I think if we just need to have that one player have that opportunity to show what he can do and get himself drafted to the National Football League from Howard.
What was it like whenever you got drafted to Jacksonville Jaguars?
It was an absolute amazing feeling, Brandon, because Jack Del Rio, who was my rookie head coach, I had known Jack since I was 16 years old when he was coaching the Balitmore Ravens as a linebacker coach. So to go and have him be my head coach, Brandon, was absolutely amazing.
What was that feeling like, knowing your head coach for a long time before obviously making it into the league?
Well, you know, it's a great connection, right, Brand? But at the same time, you have to remember you have a job to do. And so I had to remember that I'm no longer that 15-year-old kid that he knew that was hanging around the facility and all that. I was a draft pick with a job to do, and I had to act professionally and accordingly to my job description and my job and my job requirements.
How did it feel the first time you got to sign your contract as a professional football player?
It made me realize, Brandon, all the hard work I had done in my life, from playing high school football, college football, working out, all the training had paid off. And it was time for me to actually show that I could play this game at a high level.
What was that surreal moment whenever you got to put on that first NFL jersey for the game day?
We played the Minnesota Vikings in the old Viking Stadium, and to have all those fans, have the gentleman that's on the motorcycle that represents like the Viking, the guy who was like their mascot, really make you feel and understand, Brandon, this is no longer college football. It was an amazing feeling, but at the same time, very nerve-wracking. And I was like, wow, this is absolutely, this is no longer, college football.
Of course, whenever you first got into the league, were you starstruck a little bit and some of the veterans had it to pull you in?
Oh, absolutely. I was starstruck with guys like Fred Taylor, guys like, Jimmy Smith, who are some of our superstar athletes, Mark Brunell, who was our quarterback. But then I remember one of our veteran offensive linemen said, Marcus, these are no longer your starstruck, you're kind of like, a young man anymore. These are your teammates. So once I learned that, Brandon, it got a lot easier for me to do my job.
What was that feeling like of knowing some of those players that you might have looked up to in the league and now you're playing with them?
Oh, it makes you realize that you are now a professional as well, and that what you're doing and what you're able to bring to the table needs to be respected as a professional.
How did it feel to know that your name is on the back of your NFL jersey, and whenever you got to put it on, you're representing not only you, but your family's legacy?
Oh, that's, right there, Brandon, representing my family's legacy as a player is amazing, because to go from Howard, where my dad went, to then go to the National Football League where my brother was, it was a huge conduit between, wow, I was a great athlete in college, but now, wow, I was good enough to actually be drafted and make the NFL as a 22-year-old rookie.
Of course, did you get to play with your brother or against your brother in the NFL?
Yes, I played against my brother's team my rookie year when we were with Jacksonville playing Baltimore, and they beat us pretty badly. And then I got to play with my brother the following year when I got to play for the Ravens. And that was awesome because I got a chance to learn from the best of the best, who happened to be my brother as well.
What was that feeling like from going from Jacksonville to the Ravens?
It was great, man. The fans in Baltimore were a little bit more diehard. I feel the fans in Baltimore were a little bit more blue collar. And I feel that the fans in Baltimore did a really nice job of connecting with the players. Jacksonville was great, but Baltimore fans had a special connection to the players. And that's why when I left the NFL, Brand, I decided to retire to Baltimore, because the way the Ravens fans really not just embraced current players, but they also embraced retired players.
Of course, whenever you got to be with the Ravens, what was it like to play alongside your brother on the line?
Oh, it was amazing. Like, I got to see why my brother was so good, because he was so athletic, he was so smart, and he would always help other people get their job done and make them look sensational. And that's what a great teammate does, Brandon. They help people around them to get from being good to being great.
What was it like for you going from the Ravens to the Bills?
That was a great adjustment for me, because my father was raised in Buffalo. So I had a lot of family there. And Buffalo, the Bills Mafia fans are still to this day. They are one of the most supportive fans in the NFL. But what I love about them, Brandon, is they don't just support their players, they support opposing players and opposing teams as well, which is why I feel the Bills Mafia is a real special group.
What was the transition from going from the Bills to Tennesse Titans?
That was interesting, because I went a little bit more down south in Nashville, and I got a chance to see a lot. Football there was great and it was well respected, but being in the town of country music, we sometimes competed with country music, which is great. I mean, it's awesome. But I feel that the fans in Nashville were a little bit more, it was kind of a tie between they love football, they love country music. So it was kind of that, it was always that tit for tat, which is always exciting. But Nashville taught me a lot about how to prepare myself for life after, because it taught me, we had some great teammates. I had some great teams like Kevin Mawai. I had Stephen Tulloch. I had Vince Young. I had some great coaches. I had Mike Munchak was one of my coaches, who was a Hall of Fame lineman. And, Tennessee, which is a really good place to be, because the town loved football, but I had some great teammates as well.
What was it like whenever you got to put on that Titans blue?
It was awesome, man. Again, that it's like that the sword, the insignia, the logo of the Titans is one of a warrior, one of defending your honor, defending your home, defending your place of being, your place of, of residence. And I really enjoyed my time with Tennessee, because the fans and the teammates I played with made it a very fun experience, overall.
What was the transition like from you from going from all the teams that you were at? Of course, were you a free agent and then went to it, or did you just get traded?
So once I was done, so some teams I was traded to other players. Sometimes I was a free agent. It just depended. It depended on the situation. So it was always a little bit different. But what it taught me was that, I needed to make sure I was prepared for life after football. And I struggled with that when I retired. I did not make a smooth transition from sports to corporate life. But looking back on it, all things I went through football wise really was a major factor in me developing to who I am today.
Of course, when you talked about, obviously you got traded and free agent, what was that feeling like whenever you were traded and you were like, okay, you only had like maybe 24 hours before you had to go to the next team?
Oh, life moves in a whirlwind, Brandon. You got to get your stuff together. You got to get a new place. You got to pack up. It's absolutely a whirlwind. And usually what happens is you get to a new place, you leave stuff behind in your old town. You have to have two places to live for a little while. And then you're able to hopefully during, either your off week or this off season, you have to go back to where you were, clean everything up, get to your new place. And that's the real challenging part of football, Brandon, is that sometimes you're moving constantly throughout the season. And that could be really arduous and very difficult to do, especially if you have a family and things of that nature.
What was it like for you going from the NFL, the top of the tops, to obviously playing with the Reading Express?
Oh, that was great. I retired from the National Football League. I was excited to keep playing. I had a very successful construction company business, and I was just looking for, Brandon, a way to keep that competitive edge. So I knew what it was. It was me playing football, having fun, and not trying to go back to the NFL or anything. It was just having fun and keeping my competitive juices flowing because I still wanted to have an outlet from everyday life, which was, of course, being a business owner in Baltimore.
What was it like playing with the Trainalge Torch?
That was interesting. I moved down to Raleigh, and that was an interesting team here. I think it could have done very well if they had more marketing. The team was good. We played in a small, we played actually at North Carolina State Fairgrounds, which is not that far from NC State. And it was really exciting. It was fun. I was 34 years old again, just wanted to do something. Actually, I was 35 years old. So I wanted to do something fun, and I wanted to still have that, that whole competitive juice flow. And I also was trying to help younger athletes that were on the team that wanted to advance up to a high level of indoor or maybe to the CFL or maybe to the NFL, trying to help them understand the mental part of the game is more important than anything else they're going to go through.
What was that like helping the young folks learn about, obviously, being a professional football player?
Oh, it's everything. Every athlete needs a coach, either a coach that is like their actual coach, a player that is very well-versed and can help them be a coach. And so for me, helping the younger players, Brandon, was really a true honor because I saw a lot of young talent that had the physical capabilities, but they needed to improve in the mental mindset area. And I helped as many people as I could with that area.
What were some of your accomplishments during your football career?
My biggest accomplishment, Brand, was being drafted from Howard University. I went to Howard to play football, loved it. I enjoyed every experience of it, but I never thought I would be an NFL athlete. I went to school to be an investment banker. And if I play a year or two at Howard as a starter, that's cool. That's all. I get a free education. I became a 4-year starter. And when I went to the Hula Bowl, Brandon, in 2003, January, and I played against guys from Texas, Florida State, Miami. My head coach at the time was Mac Brown, who was the head coach of Texas at the time, who's now at UNC Chapel Hill. I realized, Brandon, that I could play this game at a high level. And that's what gave me that whole trajectory and that whole energy to push forward and get drafted to the National Football League in 2003.
What was it like to learn under Mac Brown, who obviously has a legendary career in college football?
Oh, it was like, I'll describe it in one word. It was legendary. To learn from a guy like that And I also got to learn from Jack Harbaugh, the father of John and Jim Harbaugh. That was also legendary in itself. So for me, being around those two individuals helped my NFL career much get elevated from learning from those two gentlemen.
What were some of your accomplishments during your football NFL time?
Making the roster, playing the National Football League, and being somebody that beat the odds as a guy who got no scholarship offers to the very end, but from Howard. And I went to Howard and I loved it and I enjoyed it. And I was so grateful for the opportunity. But to go to the National Football League and then make the roster and have almost a 6-year career, that states that I was good enough to play the game and I could play at a high level. And when you do something, Brandon, you always want the ability to play at the highest level because that means you are the best of the best and you should be playing against the best of the best.
Of course, looking back on your football career, what is it like and does it mean to you to be a Harvard grad who has made it into the NFL?
It means that it doesn't matter where you start, it matters where you finish. And I tell young athletes that all the time, Brandon. I don't care where you start, I care about where you finish. And that's what it was like for me being a Howard grad and being in the NFL. I got the best of both worlds. Great college experience, great education, and I made it to the National Football League.
What were some of your game day routines and rituals like in the NFL?
I was a very quiet person. I like to listen to classical, not very loud music. I was kind of like the calm before the storm. And that worked out very well for me in my career. And it got me to a place of calm before I got to a place of this pure rage and fire and passion and anxiety. Rage and passion and fire and just energy to get my job done.
Of course, once you retired from the NFL, what was it like transitioning into the corporate world now after your playing career?
It was hard, Brandon. I wasn't prepared for it. I didn't have a plan of action. I wasn't ready in the mental aspect, and it was extremely hard. And as a result of that, I got addicted to alcohol, gambling, nightlife for about 6 months. And then after that, I got my life together and got myself going in a positive direction.
Of course, after coming off of the addiction, what was it like getting your life back together and going in a positive direction? I
got into construction. I built a massive organization, did very well for myself, but unfortunately I made some bad mistakes. And as a result of that, I ended up going bankrupt in 2013 because I let my ego get in my way.
What are some of the things that you have done now after, obviously, your football career has ended?
So now I'm a keynote speaker, executive coach, best-selling author, corporate trainer, and I'm a brand ambassador, and I'm a part owner in several different businesses that align with my values and the values of our brand.
Of course, being a book author, what is your book that you wrote?
I wrote 2 books. First one was called Sleepless Nights, the NFL, a Business and a Family. And the second book is called The Success Cycle, 3 keys to help you achieve success in your own life.
What is it like to obviously be a book writer and have that experience from the NFL to write obviously about that?
It's amazing because it allows me to tell my story and tell different stories of action steps and positivity to help others. And I was very fortunate to have 2 books that were bestsellers that have helped our brand propel and elevate to a higher level because people see us as now a thought leader in our industry of being a speaker and a coach and a consultant.
That's so inspiring. What advice would you give upcoming college football players looking to make it into the NFL?
Take it one day, one down, one rep at a time. If you try to focus on the end goal too much, you can put a lot of pressure on yourself, a lot of stress, and that can affect your game. If you have a goal of being an NFL athlete, I encourage that. I think it's great. But the way to accomplish that is to focus every down, every day, every practice, every rep, every game, and let the chips fall where they may. Don't try to focus too much down the line because, again, you can put a lot of stress on yourself, which can really end up having a negative effect.
What advice would you give the rookies that are now making it into the NFL and even current players in the NFL?
Find a mentor, a coach, someone that can guide you, not your coaching staff. Find someone either you play with, played the game, that can mentor, coach, and guide you in life and how to handle this game. Because if you don't do that, right, Brandon, it could be a real problem as your ego could get in the way down the line.
What advice would you give former players and even players retiring that are looking to put down the football cleats in football and get into the corporate world?
Figure out what 3 things you do best and build the foundation of your new identity from there and move forward.
That's great advice. Where can my listeners find you at on social media?
They can go to LinkedIn at Marques Ogden. Facebook is Marques Ogden. Instagram at Marques Ogden. Twitter at Marques_Ogden. And they can also find us on my website, www.marques, MARQUES, Ogden, OGDEN.com.
Thank you again, Marques Ogden, for your interview, and best of luck in your future in the corporate world.
Brandon, I appreciate it, my friend. Thank you very much. Fantastic interview. I really appreciate it.
Thank you. You can find Brandon Sports Talk on Facebook at Brandon Sports Talk, Instagram at Brandon Sports Talk, Twitter at Talk_Brandon, and you can find me on YouTube at Brandon Sports Talk. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Thank you again, Marques Ogden, for your interview, and best of luck in your future.
Thank you, sir.
You've been watching Brandon Sports Talk. Please feel free to like, share, and subscribe to Brandon Sports Talk on social media and on YouTube.